Hello viewers and students, this is lecture 2 of the strength of material series, and this lecture is being divided into two parts, part A and part B. And in this lecture 2, the topic I am going to cover is very important: principal stresses and strain. And what topic I am going to cover in different parts, starting from part A. The topic which I am going to cover in part A will be axial loading, biaxial loading, principal plane, principal stresses, why we need principal planes and principal stresses. This is very important. And in part B, we will cover stress transformation equations, stresses on an oblique section of a body, major principal stress and minor principal stress, maximum shear stress, position of various planes, and at the end we will deal with some numericals. Now, before beginning with the principal stresses and strain, we must know what are different types of loading. Basically, there are three types of loading, starting with uniaxial loading, biaxial loading, and triaxial loading. And it is being very simple. You can see it is clear that the stress along single axis, or it is as in this figure, it is along x-axis, is said to be uniaxial, and that's why this stress is being denoted as sigma x. In biaxial loading, it is along x as well as y direction, so sigma x and sigma y. And similarly, in triaxial loading, it is along x, y, and z, and thus we can write sigma x, sigma y, and sigma z. Now, for our principal stresses and strain system, we have to take biaxial stress system, and this is being further divided into without shear and with shear. And biaxial stress system, as already know, is a system in which two stresses are being acting on different axes, and it is also said to be plane stress condition or plane stress system, because the whole element is in one plane, and this element can be the cross section of any body. First, we will consider without shear. You can see stresses on an element, on the external faces of the element, there are only normal stresses sigma x and sigma y, so there are no shear stresses present on this face, and an arbitrary plane is being chosen here, in which and two stresses are being assumed, and we know that there are only two types of stresses: either stress is perpendicular to the surface, which is denoted by sigma n, or it is parallel to the surface, which is denoted by sigma t. Hence, since we do not know which type of stress is being arbitrarily choose both the stress, and on solving we will get the value. If the value is 0, then we will say that this stress is not present, and vice versa. Now, in this with shear, biaxial system with shear, you can see there are four different types of, or two different types of stress, shear stresses being present on four axes, and you can also see the sum is plus and minus, and as per sign convention, clockwise shear is being taken as positive and anti-clockwise shear is taken as negative. So on this face, on the left and right faces, you can see this is plus tau, so it is a clockwise shear, and on up and down face you can see a minus tau, it is anti-clockwise shear. And again an arbitrary plane is chosen, on which an arbitrarily normal stress, which is sigma, and tangential stress sigma t is being taken. Now, about principal plane, which is very important. What is the principal plane? The plane at which there is no shear stress is known to be principal plane, and the important condition is to be mathematically tau equals to 0. So it is a plane at which there is no shear stress, there is no tangential stress, and the only stress present on the principal plane is principal stress. And our next definition is of principal stress. So the normal stress present at principal plane is known as principal stress. Since shear stress is 0, so the normal stress, in short, you can say the normal stress when tau equals to 0 is principal stress, and there is no other stress which can be present, since the shear stress is 0, tangential stress is 0. So we will have only a normal stress. So you can say a normal stress at which tau equals to 0 at a plane where tau equals to 0 is said to be principal stress. Now the big question arises: why we need principal planes and principal stresses and its analysis. To begin with, we know that in case of simple stress dealing with tensile, compressive and shear, the area of a plane taken is either normal to the force in tensile or compressive, or parallel to the force in case of shear. But this method is incorrect way of calculating failure stress, because this is not the way to calculate the failure stress of any material. And why it is failure, you can see this plane is considered to calculate the normal stress. However, it is again the incorrect way of calculating failure stress in case of normal stress. And in case of shear stress, you can see that this plane is considered to calculate shear stress. But we know that material can fail from any plane. It can fail from this plane as shown. The material can fail from this plane, or it can fail from another plane. So what should we do? And in actual scenario, the material can fail at any point inside the body depending upon point of stress concentration. This is a failure of material, and you will find that the point of stress concentration is at the center, and there can be number of points of stress concentration, and the plane passing through it will lead to the failure. It can be this plane, it can be this plane. So there can be number of combination of planes through which material can fail. And one example of failure of material you can see in highly ductile material fails in this manner, whereas a moderate ductile material fails in this manner. And one important point, you can see that this material fails with this plane of action, and you can see it is a failure of shear. And we all know that highly ductile material is weak in shear, and that's why this plane is almost 45 degree to the x-axis. And we all know that the shear stress is maximum at 45 degree. And the failure of this material, the responsible stress of the failure of this material is sigma t tangential stress, and the role played by sigma n will be less, because you can see the failure occurs at 45 degree at this plane. But in this failure, in moderate ductile fracture, you can see that it is almost at 0 at x-axis. And in such a scenario, sigma n is a dominant role. The sigma n will play a dominant role in failure, and the role of sigma t will be somewhat diminished in respect to sigma n. So in both the figure you can see, and in this failure you can see in highly ductile fracture, the sigma t will play a dominant role, whereas in moderate ductile fracture sigma n will play a dominant role. And that's why the action of plane according with respect to the failure is very important. And this is one such very good example representing the failure of material on different planes. Now the area of plane passing through that point should be taken into consideration, as we have understood with the example. But there is a problem. What is that problem? There are infinite number of planes that passes through a single point, and it is not always that you get a plane while designing that at which plane you will calculate the stress, and there can be infinite number of planes. So you can see there can be this plane, it can be this plane, so many planes in which a material can fail. And if you know the point of stress concentration, suppose the point of stress concentration is at this place, then you can see there can be number of planes passing through this point. So there can be number of planes, or you can say infinite number of planes which can pass through this point, or there can be some other plane and some other point of stress concentration in the material. So what should be the solution? The very probable solution, very simple solution to this problem is that if we can find the plane at which normal stress is maximum, that is principal plane, and a plane where the shear stress is maximum, that is shear plane, then we can design any element with utmost safety. And this is what we have done in highly ductile material and in moderate ductile material. And you can see, if the plane of normal stress suppose passes from this plane, this is a plane of normal stress, then there will be chances that material will fail with normal stress, that is sigma n. And if the material is weak in normal stress, then the material will fail from this plane, and we need to protect this plane. And in this scenario, sigma n is a dominant role, and you can see sigma t is taken to be 0. And this is a plane of maximum normal stress, which is the plane of principal plane, you can say. And that's why this sigma n equals to P1, which is the major principal stress. And in case of maximum shear stress, you can see, if this is the plane of maximum shear stress, where shear stress maximum. And again, it is important to know that if the material is weak in shear, then there will be chances that material will fail from this plane. So This is why we need to study principal plane and maximum shear stress plane and principal stresses, because we do not know where the material will fail. There are different planes from which the material fail, and the important point is this, and the solution to this is that we need to know stresses at which plane the normal stress is maximum and at which plane the shear stress is maximum. And if we can get an idea of that plane, then there will be chances that the material will fail from such a plane. Now the final conclusion for the question why we need to study principal stresses and strain, and the answer to this question will be to know the plane and magnitude of maximum normal stress and plane and magnitude of maximum shear stress. So with this we can design any element with utmost safety. Thanks for watching this video, and please like, share and subscribe. And if you are having any question regarding principal stress and strain, you can comment on the comment box. Thank you very much.